J right in your face.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Faedaway podcast, episode number 10. I'm your host, Freddy. I got my boy Zaid with me here. Zaid, how you doing, man?
Good, man. We're happy this week.
Oh, we on cloud nine.
Very happy.
We floating this week. A 4-0 perfect week for the Raps. But yo, it's kind of been off because we've had like 6 snowstorms.
Yeah, so
since we last recorded.
Yeah, legit, like 3. We've had 3. Yeah,
it's been pretty rough, man. It's been pretty rough in the north here, but only climate-wise, because basketball-wise, we're doing pretty good. But how are things on your end, man?
We're good, man. We're good. It's last week I said it sucks when we come back and record on coming off a loss, and especially a loss that last week. The loss before we recorded was that Minnesota Timberwolves loss.
The layup loss,
yeah. So this week, coming off a 4-0 week, hasn't happened this season yet. They haven't gone perfect this season yet in a fadeaway week, I guess you want to call it. But other than Raptors basketball, just hanging in there. February.
Yep.
Hopefully we can get to March. February seems like it's lasted forever.
Yo, the F1 documentary is coming back. Season 3.
Season 3. That's a good one.
Do you believe in science? Oh, Carlos Sainz.
Oh, Sainz is back.
It's going to be a heck of a season, man.
Yep.
Heck of a season. And all the drama last year, and I'm just excited because your boy won, everyone's boy, Lewis.
He's not my boy, but it's hard not to be a fan of Lewis Hamilton.
Of course,
man.
100%.
He's goated right now.
And he's probably the only guy that, even though he's the unspeakable GOAT, no one can, knock you for cheering for him.
Yeah, obviously.
Because it's Lewis, man. He's just too good. He does it naturally. Mm-hmm. But yeah, lots of interesting things happening around the league. The Raptors found their way in the top 5 once again. And they're actually tied. I think that with one more win and an Indiana loss, they're up to 4th. So
wow,
quite the turnaround, man. Since 2-8, they've been 14-7. A lot to be proud of. But I want to start because I want to apologize to the Raptors myself because I came out last week and I said I don't know with this 2-game Milwaukee, at best it'll be a split. Mm-hmm. I said I bet. Mm-hmm. And look, I was jaded. It was after the Wolves game. It's like, if you're asking me to assess the next game, you just lost to the worst team in the league.
Yeah. And
now I'm supposed to assess you going up against one of the best teams in the East. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I was jaded. Mm-hmm. So I said, I said what I said. But I want to take it back. I want to not take it back, but I want to apologize because they did come out and they swept Milwaukee, to my surprise. I think to everyone's surprise.
Yeah.
That first game, let's talk about that first game. So, Pascal, 23, 13, and 6 in that first game. Mm-hmm. He was 8 for 23, so I don't love the field goal, but I'm sure this is going to come up regularly. That 6 assist number is so important for his game this year. That step that he's taken, and I personally love the 13 rebounds, but I think his playmaking has definitely taken a huge step forward. Where are you right now with Pascal? Not Pascal, but thoughts on that game because he came out. He came out and everyone knocks him. He can't play against Giannis and this and that, and he came out.
What I thought he did a good job of was playmaking. That's what he's been doing the best all season long, and that's the only consistent part of his game all season long. People may argue that his inside scoring has been consistent maybe as of the last 10 games or 11 games when he kind of flipped that switch and he's like, I'm not going to shoot outside perimeter shots anymore. I'm going to attack the paint. Unfortunately, against a big team like the Bucks and a big team like the Sixers, scoring in the paint isn't as easy for a guy like Pascal who, give him some credit. He's not a slender man by any means. He's pretty built. He's long. He's strong, but the teams are just too long and too strong too big,
too aggressive,
to post up on and score in the paint on. What I liked from that game was kind of just the balanced output of scoring from the entire team. It wasn't more so about Pascal. It was Freddy was involved. Norm, who's been on fire the last 10, 15 games, playing as a starter, he's just been on fire. So having those guys all on the same page and being able to have a balanced scoring output I think is the best thing that the Raptors could do. Pascal, it's tough. We need to see him change up his game. We need to see those mid-range jump shots. Maybe 3-point jump shot needs to be consistent. As long as he's going to be an only only a paint scorer, I think it would definitely be tough for him to be the main guy on this team. Because to me right now, so far this season, the number one option on this team is Freddy.
Yeah.
Scoring, facilitating, defensively. He's been the guy. He's been the leader. So for me, for Pascal, where do I see him right now? I see him as the number 2 to Freddy's number 1, if you want to call it. And it sucks because he's the max guy.
Yeah.
So definitely a lot more things that Pascal can develop. In terms of that first game against the Bucks, the biggest thing was the energy they came out with. It was on full display, the defensive energy, the offensive energy.
CB had 5 blocks that game.
Right? So CB had 5 blocks that game. The ball movement, the trust in your teammates to be able to pass them the ball and score. That was one of the biggest things. OG also came back. That was his first game back that game. Didn't have the best game. We can't really expect him after a 10-game absence to come out and score 15.
It wasn't that bad. It was 13-7 plus 18, 5-9 from the field. So it was decent.
Wasn't like a game that we want to have.
Impressive defense. I'm assuming so.
And especially with
your boy.
Especially with Norm stepping up his scoring averages, you don't really need OG to score in that much more anymore, right? You just hit corner threes, make timely, passes, make timely shots in the times that it matters the most.
He held Middleton to 11 points. 4 for 8.
That's huge as well. So for me, from that first Bucks game, it was just energy. The Raptors actually won the rebounding battle that game, which is very, very rare, especially against a big team like the Bucks. So those were the kind of the two things that I saw differently. Just energy, intensity was all there. They wanted to win that game, and then the rebounding battle, they won. That's not something that happens often in Raptor this season in Raptor basketball.
You know what's funny to me is after that game, all of NBA media was talking about, the Bucks dropped their 4th straight. They've been terrible.
Of course. Why would
and
they?
the lack of respect that the Raptors continue to get from the media, which is fine. I mean, I don't think any of them are gung-ho on being praised in the media, and I don't think that they should be. That's not our identity. That's not what we are. Mm-hmm. But it brings up an interesting point in, like, Giannis commits this 5-year deal prematurely. Everyone was like, he's going to opt out and hit free agency. He ends up extending 5 years. Mm-hmm. And they got worse. I mean, let's call it what it is. Yeah, they picked up Drew Holiday, and he's playing a pretty decent season. He's playing pretty well. But this team does not look good, man. Their depth is not great. I'm not loving this team. It looks just like a bunch of random misfits. And I'll be honest with you, I still am not high on Coach Bud. He clearly can't make adjustments, and he looks figured out by Nick Nurse looks like he's figured out Bud's adjustments.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it doesn't look like the Bud's made any adjustments. It's
tough.
Bud has one of the most dominant players in Giannis, and he still cannot, after 2 or 3 years now, he still can't find an answer for Nick's defense against Giannis. Mm-hmm. And Giannis, in the second game off that mini-series, Giannis was held to, I think, 23 points, I think it was.
It was 23 points, 8 of 20.
23 points, 8 of 20, poor shooting night. But Giannis was the only person on that Bucks team to score more than 20 points. So that team defense, the Raptors were able to challenge the role players on the Bucks. Say, hey, you make shots. Chris Middleton can't score above 20.
Back-to-back nights. Chris Middleton.
So it's Nick Nurse has been able to, single out a few coaches and a few teams that are expected to do very well, and he's been able to really capitalize and figure those teams out.
Yeah.
And for a guy like Giannis, I understand that Drew Holiday wasn't playing those 2 games against the Raptors. Fair that he.
Kyle Lowry wasn't playing.
I mean, we'll
talk about that one
later. but Drew Holiday's a key piece. You can say Kyle Lowry wasn't playing fine, but I think Drew Holiday's impact on this Bucks team might be a bit more than Kyle Lowry's impact on this Raptors team this year. So you can make all those arguments and whatever, but for a guy like Giannis to lose back-to-back games against a team that was pursuing you heavily and that you could have signed with.
Should have signed with.
All I'm saying is don't be surprised in 1 or 2 years if Giannis forces his way out of Milwaukee. We've seen it happen numerous times before. No matter how loyal you say you are, it doesn't always work out.
Doesn't the contract start next year? Because it
hasn't even started yet. If they don't win this year, if they underachieve, Bud is gone too.
I think outside of financial security, there were 0 reasons for him to make that move.
Oh, there's no, it was
outside
money.
of the cap is going to go down next year because of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
I want to secure the bag now because I don't know what my health is going to look like in a year. I just had a kid.
Yeah,
I'm coming from the slums of Greece.
Yeah,
that he talks about not even having enough money to drink water,
food, everything.
So I get it from a financial security standpoint. It makes sense, but from a competitive standpoint, this Bucks team they just look a little sad right now. Like,
you know when championship windows close, like that's what's happening right now. We've seen it with the Houston Rockets. They had kind of that 2 or 3 year span where they, you take out CP3, you add CP3, you take him out, you put Russell Westbrook in.
Yeah.
The window is closing, and this is the last year where that window is going to be open because teams are going to get better. Teams already have gotten better this year. Coach Bud, like we said, I don't think he's going to be there for too long after this year, especially if they underachieve according to their standards.
Man. It's tough. Like 2 straight years you underachieve, and this guy's prime. It's his prime. Like, figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, how many coaches figure it out with much less talent? You're giving the most talented player. Well, no, depends who you're asking, but he's a former MVP, former 2-time MVP.
2-time MVP.
Obviously, if you ask Pascal, if you ask Perk, he's going to tell you he's not the most skilled guy, but he's a relatively skilled guy, 2-time MVP in his prime. You can, like, a lot of coaches would love to have Giannis right now on their team.
Of course.
Like, and you brought up a great point. Like, if Giannis was in the Raptors system, this 57% free throw shooting thing would not be a thing.
No.
Are you doubling down?
Yeah, of course. I just think, like, the Raptors development system, whether you're a star, whether you're a role player, whether you're a G League guy, they focus in on what you need to know, what you need to learn, how you need to play. Pascal, they've taught him a lot more how to facilitate. They taught him how to pass out of a double team. They taught him how to play in the post. He never knew how to do that before. Pascal got big because he was hitting corner threes. So he's added stuff to his game he's added stuff to his game that he didn't even know he could add, right? So you bring in a Giannis in this Raptors development and with the relationship that Masai has with Giannis, like from back in the day already, like there's that trust there. There's that trust that that we're going to look out for you. This is where we're going to make you into a better player.
Yep.
Some things from that second game against the Bucks that I just want to highlight. Raptors came out and set the tone. A lot of times the Raptors off back-to-backs or off playing the same team twice, that team is already pissed that they lost to you. The Raptors are usually not ready for that first punch in the first quarter. They came out and they threw that first punch in the first quarter and through the whole way. They held the Bucks to 96 points that game. Great defense, phenomenal defense. I tweeted Fred VanVleet, first team all defense and an all-star.
Yep.
Those are, first team, you can make an argument that he might not be fine, but he is on some sort of all defensive team, whether it's first or second. And in my opinion, he should be an all-star this year. Given where the Raptors are, given how he has played this year, he should be an all-star this year.
For sure.
And then finally, 2 more things. Points off turnovers. Raptors were up 24-6 on points off turnovers. So we're seeing a lot of that defense turn into offense. And then last point was 3-headed monster, Fred VanVleet, Norm, and Spicy P. When they're rolling, it's very hard to stop that offense. They put up 110 points in that second game. They put up 124 points in that first game. This offense actually might be the best that we've seen under Nick Nurse.
Oh, well, I mean, it was 4 straight games of 120 plus, 5 straight games, which is franchise best.
Yeah.
They're definitely scoring a lot, and I'm very, very happy to finally see that defense come back.
Yeah.
They held the Bucks under 100, then they had the ugliest game ever against the Wolves, held them way under, almost under 80.
Yeah.
But I want to add one more thing about Freddy that I actually tweeted out. You know how Kyle kind of made a name for himself as the guy who takes the charges?
Yeah.
And that's how he gets his turnovers on defense? Fred VanVleet will be the best on-ball strip defender of all time.
Of all time?
Yo, I'm not saying all time. Like, that's obviously an exaggeration, but like all-time Raptors for sure. But this guy's anticipation, his hands this season have been ridiculous. Like, it is unbelievable. Every game he gets himself 3 or 4 of those pickpocket steals.
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
You can tell he's improved that. You can tell he's learning players' tendencies, and that's the next step. Once you've got the skills, now how are you going to educate yourself? How are you going to be knowledgeable? How are you going to exercise your mind? What's your IQ like? That's the next step you take, and you see him. We've seen him strip Giannis, who's 8 inches taller, maybe 40 pounds heavier than him.
He did it to Embiid too.
He did it to Embiid. He's just so opportunistic in the way he plays his defense, and it's amazing to watch, and that's why he's making that case for, hey, I might be first team all defense this year.
Yeah.
Moving on to that Wolves game. That Wolves game might have been the ugliest, most frustrating game or frustrating win we've seen all season.
Yeah.
It was. I had a big issue with Nurse's timeouts, Nurse's substitution and substitution management as well. The guys looked tired, and this wasn't a back-to-back. I think it was the second night. Yeah, it was the second night of the back-to-back. You come against the Bucks. It was a trap game.
Which they were 0-4 on. Second night of a back-to-back on the season prior to that.
Yeah, so it was a trap game. They finally got one off the back-to-back against one of the worst team in the league. So that's a plus. But on those back-to-back games, it's tough to manage the timeouts. It's tough to manage the minutes. I understand Nick Nurse's, challenge because you got to play your guys against the Bucks. You need that win. But on the flip side, you also need this win against the Wolves because they just embarrassed you last week. So no rest for anybody. Norm had a great night, 31 points. I think that might have been his season high this season. But it was a good grind-out win. This last five of TD, Stanley, Pascal, Fred VanVleet, and Norm closed out that game perfectly.
TD clutched it out.
He clutched it out in that fourth quarter. And that was probably the smartest we've seen TD play all season.
It was a big day for him.
Yeah, it was a big day for him. So
his charges were right out the window, man. Right out the window.
So that game was a great grind out win. It was nice to see the Raptors trailing after. I think it was they've got some
trailing
sort of
after
losing record.
they were 0-13.
Yes.
On the season when trailing after the fourth.
13.
And they came back
the third. After the third.
And they came back 2 games in a row.
Exactly.
They did it against Minnesota and then against Philly.
So it was nice to them be able to grind out games.
That Minnesota game was disgusting.
Ugly win.
That 16-point lead that they had that just evaporated and just in front of our eyes.
Furious
Ridiculous.
With that. You can't. That's one of the things that I was really having difficulty thinking about was Nick Nurse waited till that 16-point lead evaporated to 3 points. Mm-hmm. They went on a 13-0 run, and you're not calling a timeout. At 7-8, you call a timeout for sure. I get it. Your hero is the Zen Master. It's Phil. It's Phil Jackson. I get it. You want to be Phil.
You brought up a great point, though. Zen Masters
Phil.
don't lead the league in technical fouls.
Exactly.
That's quite literally the complete opposite.
Exactly. So
of a Zen Master.
Nurse, know your guys. Coach your team. You know your team best.
Yeah.
13 points, 13-0 run showed me he didn't know his team best. I know he knows better.
Let's talk about the most impressive win, in my opinion, on the week, and that's the Philly win. I'm not going to lie to you. When the game started, it didn't look good.
At all.
It didn't look good. It looked like Embiid was toying with his children, and we were his children. Mm-hmm. He was throwing Baines around like he was a piece of meat in the beginning.
And also they started off with the small ball 5 a lot. Or I think they're actually outscored by 11 points that game when Pascal was at the 5. So Embiid is going to eat when Pascal's at the 5.
No question.
It's too small.
He was eating Pascal. He was eating Chris Boucher for a bit.
Everybody.
Everyone who wanted it got it from Embiid. And then I remember there was a clip where Fred is at the top of the key on offense and Ben is checking him defensively. And it was just like...
It was ugly.
Bro, it's like when you're playing against your dad in the parking lot and in the driveway, like, when you're 12.
He won't let you win still.
Pop, it's it looked pretty rough. But major kudos to these guys. They just came out. They had a 12-0 run in the first quarter. Fred went bonkers. Whew. It started out with that fadeaway 3 where he banked it in backwards.
Yeah.
Caught fire, hit about 3 or 4 threes. They went on a 12-0 run. And they never looked back, essentially, is what happened.
Or maybe even 15-0.
It was 12-0.
Yeah.
It was like 4 straight threes.
Yeah.
And then after that, I'm not really sure, but it was the 12-0 run, and then they never looked back after that. And I think that was the most impressive win because... Philly's the number 1 team in the East. They've been playing fantastic basketball all season. They're healthy.
Yep.
They weren't missing anybody. B, Joel Embiid is MVP of the NBA so far. He's definitely top 2.
Yeah.
Him and Jokic are right there. He's having a fantastic season. C, we evidently have a glaring problem at the center position.
Yes.
So obviously this guy's going to come in and eat because he's having a fantastic season as it is. So when you factor in all of these things and then, Kyle Lowry's missing your leader, your emotional leader.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that go against the Raptors. You had a long week, 3 wins already. Had they lost that game, nobody would have been upset.
No.
They just beat Milwaukee twice. Everything was great, 3 in a row. But they came out and they won that game. And not just that, they held Philly to 103 points.
Yeah.
So Philly is an offensive juggernaut. Ben had 27 points, and they still held them to 103.
Yeah.
What I liked a lot in that game, obviously the production offensively was pretty good. You had Pascal and VanVleet with 23, Boucher with 17.
Which he got late.
But, man, DeAndre Bembry that game.
Oh, I love Bembry, man. I love
just
Bembry.
Right place, right time. It seemed on defense. He got hit in the face a couple times by Simmons.
Ben. Yeah.
And bounced back up. I mean, his intelligence, the fact that he dunks everything and doesn't risk, it just not going in, which seems like such a necessary skill to have. But man, Bembry has been such a smart player to have. And I know we praise him a lot on this podcast, but he deserves it, man.
And the thing is, it's not just that game. And when I'm watching Bembry, honestly, I don't know if this is an exaggeration, hot take, not hot take, whatever it is. Bembry, as far as I've seen this season, might be the best cutter in the league because he's always in the right spot, the right time, makes his movements at the right time. How many of his baskets are off cuts? Probably 80%.
Yeah.
Cut to the basket, fill the lane. Dunk.
He's a smart player, man.
He's so smart, and he gives you that. He's a big body. He can handle the ball.
He dunks everything.
Everything. He plays well defensively. He's disciplined. He's sound. He doesn't foul too much. He's strong. He gives a lot of the opposing wing players a lot of problems. So, and in a game like the Sixers game, we saw the Raptors collectively defense turned into offense. How many turnovers did we see? The Raptors would force a turnover, or not even force. They would just play sound defense and make the Sixers make the mistake, and they'll be running off the turnover, running, gunning. Like you said, Bembry, great game for him. He's been great all season, and you can see he's earned solid rotation minutes. He's trusted upon by Nick Nurse a lot. Another thing,
he's the seventh guy off the bench, 7 or 8 depends, right? Depends. Now with Baines off the bench, it depends on the lineup.
Even if he throws in
Matt Thomas
before him, he gets more minutes than any of those bench guys. Really, he's top 7 on the rotation.
He got the start against Philly, right? He got the 20. He did get the start, 20 minutes, plus 10.
Another thing is,
I'm gonna interrupt you before you go, but of the starters, he's the only one that was plus. He was plus 10.
Look at that.
Norm was minus 26. OG minus 13.
Against the Sixers.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Plus 10.
Wow. Good for him.
On 8 points. So he
doesn't need to. He doesn't need to
score, man.
That's
his impact is beyond scoring. Chris Boucher was a plus 32 that game. TD was a plus 32.
Chris Boucher is like a plus 52 this week. Apparently, it's some wild number.
He's ridiculous.
This week. What I loved about that game is that you could tell the Sixers did not do any sort of scouting report because
they didn't care.
He had 4 or 5 straight threes wide open, and he took them all. Quarter. Yeah, he just snapped in the third quarter, and he took them all, and it was amazing. And it was amazing to see the Raptors feed the hot hand. When Freddy was hot, they said, "Here, Freddy, take it and take us there."
Yeah.
When CB was hot, 1-5 pick and roll all day, high pick and roll. CB comes out to the 3-point line and shoots it because Joel Embiid is not coming out to rotate on that. Dwight Howard is not going to come out and rotate on that. So Chris Boucher was eating them off of open threes. It was amazing to see. And to your point, you said they held Embiid to a poor shooting. I think he had a very poor shooting night. He had 26 points on the night, but he had maybe 20.
It was 25 points on 6 for 20, but he shot 14 free throws.
And that's where the numbers are inflated because he shot 14 free throws.
Yeah.
They did a great job altogether. And Baines, listen, you haven't been the greatest all season, but that game.
Yeah, and that was
his breakout game of the season, defending.
I'll take
and
that.
Shutting
if he can
down.
be that guy, if he wants to be that guy for us, I'll take it any day. But at the end of the day, like you said, it's just one game. We've seen too many things from him that are upsetting. And at the end of the day, I mean, like Raptors Twitter, the emotional ups and downs that people feel as a part of being a Raptors fan is like. It's all highs and lows. Like one day you're absolutely enamored with this guy, and one day you despise his being.
Well, the thing is, it's not even one day or another. That was Baines' breakout game of the season, and in my opinion, like he hasn't been playing so well that game, that minimal, not minimal effort, but just him being able to shut down Embiid was like everyone was like, wow, he could shut down Embiid. He did a great job on Embiid in the second half.
But, he was plus 11 in 30 minutes.
That's a great number. Mm-hmm. I need to see more if you're going to be a big component of the team. There's bunnies that you don't finish at the rim. You need to rebound. You need to be able to protect the rim. And I get it. You can't jump over a textbook, but play your positional defense. Play that defense every single time down.
Yeah.
Playmaking. There's games where he shoots 7 threes. Take smart shots. Shoot 1 or 2 threes a game. If you make 1, you make 2.
Yeah.
Good on you. Take the third, but don't take 7 threes in one game. I don't want to see that.
So Baines has been the topic of discussion this week, and not only because he's underperforming in every game other than the Philly game, but there have been some advancements this week with a guy named Demarcus Cousins. Ideas of him being waived by his team, and then half the Raptors fans said, "Yo, let's go get him right now." The other half said, "Is this even going to work?"
Right.
So I'm on the half of go get him right now, and I'll tell you why. People think for some reason that the Raptors fans that want Baines think he's going to come in and start. That he's going to come in. That they want Cousins. The ones that want Cousins think he's going to come in and start. Think he's going to come in and beat Demarcus Cousins from the New Orleans Pelicans, get the 30-plus minutes a game.
They ain't watching this year.
That is not the case.
Yeah.
He's incapable, quite literally, of doing that. It's not possible. The guy's been through way too much.
Yeah.
He's a big body as it is. And you want to destroy every part of his legs, which they did.
They already did. Yeah.
So he's not going to come in and do that. But let's break it down. So I did a player comparison.
Yeah.
Just to compare the two. So points per game, Demarcus Cousins wins. He's almost double, 9.6 to 5.5. He's double his assists, 2.4 to 1. He averages more rebounds, 7.6 to his 5.4. He's shooting 14% better from 3 at 34%. He's shooting better from the free throw line at 75% to Baines' 73. I guess defensive rebounding, which is very important for the Raptors. Baines is 3.9. He's 6.4. That's almost double on the defensive boards. I mean, you want to tell me that, his defense or his... Okay, you know the one thing that's pissing me off is that everyone that's telling me this is a bad... he's bad in the locker room. Says who?
Yeah.
Says who? Find me teammates of DeMarcus Cousins that have been on record saying this guy
is a bad
destroys locker rooms. Where do people get this stuff from? Where do you get your content from, bro? You got to listen to the player profiles. There's tons of players right now that have podcasts out that tell you it like it is, who will tell you any day of the week DeMarcus Cousins is a ride or die guy.
Yeah.
And they want to say, this year he's been washed. Absolutely he's been washed. But you want to compare, let's compare. Because right now, statistically, he's a much better player than Baines on every front that we just listed. And he's a backup to Christian Wood, who's pushing all-star level.
Yeah.
So not only are his minutes inconsistent, but he's also backing up an all-star.
Yeah.
Baines walked into this position and said, we told him, this is yours to lose, bro. This is yours to lose.
Yeah.
There's no other center on the roster that can start other than you. Go on and do it. And he hasn't done it.
Yeah.
So I personally think demote him to the bench, which they did, and we said that from the get-go. Demote him to the bench, and then just swap him completely, bro. Bring Cousins in. I honestly firmly believe Cousins would be a much better player off the bench than Aaron Baines. There's no question. He's a bigger body. He can rebound better. I mean, I'm not going to say he's a lockdown defender, but Baines is not a lockdown defender either. And offensively, it's not close, in my opinion. He stretches the floor better. He passes better. He scores better. He can shoot a 3 better.
It just depends on the fit and what if we're gonna get him, if the Raptors are gonna go out and get him on a veterans minimum, whether it's DeMarcus Cousins or any other washed up, get him. It's worth the risk. It's worth the gamble. It's a vet minimum. You're paying less than $1 million to get this guy on your team. You know he can play. You know he has a good feel for the game. He's played at an all-star level before. Obviously, physically, it's not there anymore. But if he's physically not there anymore and still playing better than a Baines who is physically all there, it's worth a gamble. It's worth a gamble, absolutely. I think the people are confused, and the people who think that he's going to come out and be a star on this team, they haven't watched him play this year. Sometimes it's painful to watch him play this year. I'm not gonna lie to you, just because of how immobile he is now, and how unsure of himself he is now, and how the confidence is not there anymore. And he's had a few breakout games this season where he's had like 15 and 10 double doubles.
He's probably had more double-digit rebounding games than Baines has.
Absolutely. So I don't disagree with bringing him in. I think first explore everything you can with the Andre Drummond deal. I think that's the priority. Max that out. If you absolutely cannot get Andre Drummond in a deal, then go ahead and take this risk on DeMarcus Cousins. Don't guarantee his deal. Do whatever you want and let him see if he can prove himself. He's got Kyle Lowry on this team. Him and Lowry and DeMarcus are boys from Team USA. Maybe Lowry can guide him. Maybe Lowry can lead him.
If he's still here.
Well, for the season, yeah, we'll make the assumption he's still here. But for people who don't want him at all, it's not really it's a win-win situation in my eyes. Mm-hmm. You gamble on a guy on a very minimal amount of money to see if he can come in and produce for you better than a guy who's getting paid maybe $6 million, $7 million this year and hasn't really produced at all this season. So for me, take the gamble if Drummond is not available and see what you can do. Moving on from the Demarcus Cousins talk, the Raptors lost an assistant coach last night, the lead assistant coach, Chris Finch, to the Minnesota Timberwolves, who parted ways with
longtime friend of Nick Nurse,
Ryan Saunders. Finally, he's been canned because they've been
way
atrocious.
Too late. Way too late.
And I was thinking, like, when's the last time we've seen, or have we ever seen, a mid-season acquisition of a head coach from another team, or them poaching essentially an assistant coach from another team into their head coaching spot? We haven't seen that in our lifetime.
I know that
in our fanhood.
I know that Windy on his pod said that it's been since the 80s. That was the last time it happened.
There it is.
Yeah.
So congratulations.
Not a common thing at all.
Congratulations to Chris Finch. Huge move for him. I tweeted, "This is the beginning," or "This is not the beginning. This is the Nick Nurse effect." Mm-hmm. Probably prematurely a little bit, because Chris Finch had only been here for 3 months, 30 games,
35 games, whatever it was.
But what I will say is, being on this team, being in this organization, being under this umbrella, being under Nurse, I think definitely highlights and makes you a lot more approachable than lot of other coaches in the league.
For sure.
Nate Bjorken was the first guy to go from Nick Nurse's staff to get a head coaching position. Chris Finch, I guess.
Let's not forget Rex Kalamian, too, a couple years ago. He left... he went to the Clippers.
Not to be the head, though, but to be an assistant. Assistants always switch around. That's a common thing. Also, don't forget, Coach Griffin was interviewed for the Grizzlies position in 2019, and he was one of the assistants for Nurse as well. So just because the Raptors can't really take full credit and full claim for Chris Finch, Nick Nurse is starting to create a little tree of his own, and it's cool to watch. It's cool that he's been doing that.
And I don't know if this is considered the same tree, but Jerry Stackhouse is now also the head coach of a college team.
Yeah, for sure.
And he was under
Raptors tree.
Raptors tree, right? And he coached the 905. Last thing before we move on from Raptors, we have some questions from Twitter. So we got Suzanne Parr at Suzanne Parr, Parr. Sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly. But she goes, any topic obviously would be great right now. The loss of Serge and Mark meant all players have to expand their role. Result improvement all around. Lowry out gives others chance to shine. Lowry back and possible other center, and they're a contender again. So I love that she brought this up, because Lowry out is one of the most important things in that whole phrase that she said. And let's just call it what it is. In the last calendar year, they're 16-0 when Lowry doesn't play.
Wow.
Their offense
16.
Their point differential is plus 10 in those games.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people want to tell me it's an inflated number. We did so well without Kawhi, 17-5. Okay, well, my counter to that is, when Kawhi left, we didn't fail. We didn't win a championship, but we were one game away from a conference final. Yeah. So still a very talented team, very capable, good team. Mm-hmm. And I've said this on the podcast many times this season, Lowry's just not a part of the future of this franchise. Yeah. At the end of the day, this is Freddy's team now. Freddy's a much more reliable offensive option. I don't think I've ever seen Lowry this good offensively. Even when he was an all-star.
Yeah, wasn't.
I don't think he was this good offensively. Like he did put up the points. I think he did have a season or two where he did put up more than 20. But even then, it didn't happen this way. He doesn't shoot like Fred VanVleet shoots. Fred. And honestly, like at this point, it's just you want to get something in return, because he's gonna walk away. Yeah. If he doesn't walk away, then it's like, what's going on? This is confusing. He's not a part of the future. Let him go. That's why I think, get some pieces for him. He's been out. Mm-hmm. It gives, and like Suzanne said, man, it gives people the option to grow. Like Chris Boucher is getting way more touch now. Terrence Davis got a chance to come in the game at the end of the game, get some shots up at the end of the game.
Norm Powell in the last 6 games.
Norm Powell's the number one beneficiary.
22 points per game.
He's going to get paid because of Lowry being out.
Yes. I honestly, I agree 100% with your point. I can't, a record 16-0. They don't lose when you're not playing,
and they're winning by plus 10.
Is too big of a of an eye opener for me. So, like I said before, Lowry's role on this team needs to be lesser, and it doesn't look like it's going to happen. So it might be best to move him to a contender or to a team that needs him. Preferably not in the Eastern Conference, because there's that whole GM thing where they don't trade players to the same conference, a team from the same conference. I'm a pretty big believer in that as well. I don't think it's a good idea to trade him to your not rival, but your possible playoff opponent in the Sixers.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not a good idea to do that at all. And it comes down to this is a new team this year. This is a new core this year. Kyle Lowry is core, but he's not, because he's gone next year. So give the keys to Freddy, give the keys to Pascal, give the keys to OG. Pray that you can keep Norm.
You can.
Because he's in a contract year and he's a player option. He's going to opt in. But pray that you can keep Norm.
Norm's going to get overpaid, though. Because call it what it is. He's 29. 28.
Norm is getting 15 to 20 next year.
Exactly. For 4 years.
For 4 years. Yeah.
Exactly.
So if you can keep him, if you can get him to take a hometown discount.
He's not taking
I
Jack.
don't know, but
I would not take Jack. He's getting 10 mil this year.
In terms of Kyle Lowry, it sucks. It has to be like this. It sucks that.
Does it though?
Yeah, it's
Why
sad.
does it suck?
It's sad,
Why
bro.
does it suck,
It's
bro?
sad.
He got a ring. He got his All-Stars. He's a legend. And they're working with him to go where he wants to go. Why does this suck? It doesn't suck.
You don't want to be the team to give away every single franchise player you have.
But this
you know what I mean?
situation's different, man. They're not flipping. Like, this isn't the DeMar situation.
Does Kyle want to leave? Do we know any? I don't think we
He's
know
not gonna
anything
come out and
about
say
that.
it. He's not gonna come out and say it.
I
But
still.
you tell me, I'm sure if they came up to him and said, "Listen, you can go and compete and win a championship, potentially in your hometown."
Well, I don't want to trade him to the Sixers though. That's another issue.
Well,
there.
I mean, regardless, he's a free agent this summer, so
yeah, he can go.
He
can
can
go
go there
likes.
if he wants. So at the end of the day, if Philly's going to offer you a good package, milk it. Get as many people. If they throw in, like, never going to happen, but let's say they're like, we'll throw in like a Thibault, like Matisse. Oh my God, bro,
That's cool.
Like,
That's a wing player, but
take him in, bring him in. We're gonna lose Norm. We're gonna need another guy.
We're gonna need another guy.
So
It's
I
true.
mean, you gotta milk it, and that's why, like, I would just at this point. In the last couple of years, we saw Kawhi, Serge, Mark, and Danny Green walk away in exchange for nothing. And we've constantly been able to bounce back and still win games and still be a culture.
Yeah.
But you might as well just try to get something out of this, man. Like, be strategic a little bit. I just feel like the front office is a little stagnant. Like, they're not making the moves. Like, it's like, come on, do something, bro. Pull the trigger.
This year's been a different year from in the front office.
Yeah,
in
for
front
sure.
office terms. The second question that we got from Twitter, from @JulesApril8. What moves need to be made to be a real championship contender, including how to beat a more long, athletic Boston Celtics team in the playoffs with Smart, Brown, Tatum, and Walker?
I hate Boston.
She didn't even say like it's no. They got all those guys, and they've got Tristan Thompson, who's long and big as well. To that question, it sucks because I think we've only got one game against the Celtics this season, and it was off. We got
We're
2.
0-2.
We're 0-2. The second one, we were off a back-to-back, tired, looked awful. It wasn't a very good judgment of the game. But the Celtics, for some reason, have the Raptors' number. And
It's Marcus Smart.
Marcus Smart didn't play the last game.
No, but he played the series in the
yes.
bubble, and he killed us.
And Marcus Smart is a huge catalyst to that team. Some of the biggest things against the Celtics that the Raptors give up is those corner threes, is that 3-point percentage. You can't afford to give up a high 3-point percentage against a team that can shoot it well. And they've got shooters on their team. So that's one of the things. Another thing is this: the last game against the Celtics was live and die against his three. The Raptors shot 32% from 3-point line. So you're giving up a crazy percentage, and you're not even shooting a good percentage.
We're also forgetting that the game that the Raptors lost to the Celtics, the most recent one, like, they held Brown to 3 for 11,
and Tatum had a
and
poor
Tatum
game as
struggled,
well.
but Ojale had like 57,
exactly,
and Peyton Pritchard had 67. They both shot 150% from the field. So it's like, you let these random guys come in here and have the career nights on the same night.
Yeah,
I mean, come on, man, you're making it hard for yourself.
It might just come down to just better overall preparation. And in a playoff series, you've got the ability to prepare. You've got the ability to really scout your team.
Yeah.
The Raptors, I think, have the pieces. The
For
Raptors
sure
and the
do.
Celtics match up so well against each other with the length, with the size. It's just unfortunate that the Raptors don't exactly have the size at the center position and the rebounding abilities at the center position that the Celtics do. So as far as personnel goes, I think the Raptors have a great team, a good enough team to beat the Celtics like they did last year. It just comes down to coaching. Comes down to how are they going to play? How are they going to play together? What are you going to give up? What are you going to let the Celtics have? And it's just unfortunate that the Raptors always give up those threes and always give up career nights to guys that shouldn't have career nights against the Raptors.
Yeah, absolutely. One last thing I want to say to Jules is, look, it was a 7-game series. It was a couple possessions away from the Raptors winning it. So I don't think that they needed a major acquisition to beat this team. But I think that, like you said, just the perimeter defense, you can't allow them to score threes on either side of it. Like Jaylen Brown can score, Jason Tatum can score. Marcus Smart burned us on the three
heavily.
Those are the things that you need to stop, because if you don't let that happen, or if you stop that from happening, you're gonna win. If you don't, you're gonna make it really hard for yourself. So I don't think it's a personnel thing, just more like a refining the defense kind of thing. But let's move on from the Toronto Raptors and talk a little bit around the league before we wrap up today's episode. Let's just go right into it and talk All-Star starters, man. That was the biggest thing that happened this week. The All-Star starters were named. If you want to, you have it up. So if you want to just list it for the East.
For the East, you've got Kyrie Irving, Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Joel Embiid. Now, are you upset? Are you thinking about a possible snub in any of those 5 guys?
For sure.
And who would that be?
Bradley Beal, absolutely. And I think Trae Young deserved to be in that position as a starter.
Trae.
But at the end of the day, man, he's leading the league in scoring, and they robbed him of an All-Star last year.
This is a makeup?
Sorry?
This is a makeup?
For sure. And it's fan voting, too. So fans felt bad. It was a media narrative, and everybody in the media this year, the whole thing was a campaign on getting Beal out of Washington.
Yeah.
You know, like, first of all, I as a fan of that home team, I'd be so pissed if every time I went online, it's like everyone in the world's begging our best player to leave. That's like the most frustrating thing ever. But I think that they definitely, it was a makeup call. It was a narrative call, but let's call it what it is. Trae Young is having not a better offensive season. Their team is winning more games. He's averaging, I believe it's close to double-double with assists. Almost 30 a game, 27 a game. So, I mean, man, like, you got to reward winning, but it's fan voting. So I can't really be upset. And he got snubbed last year, so it's not one of those things that, like, I'm staying up and not upset about it. But if I'm going to go and say who deserves it, I think for sure that
it's Trae.
Trae Young for sure deserves to start.
I'll agree with you on that point. I'm not too high on the Bradley Beal starting the All-Star game. Just because you lead the league in scoring and you're a bucket, it's kind of empty buckets to me if you're not winning games. So, you know,
they won 4 straight, though.
They won 4 straight, fine, fair, but they're still not even close to being a playoff team, not even close to being a contender in the league. But like you said, All-Star game, fan voting. Congrats, Bradley Beal. You know what I mean? I am upset about the Western Conference starters.
Okay.
Luka Doncic, Stephen Curry, LeBron James, Nikola Jokic, Kawhi Leonard.
Okay. So 4 of those 5 are pretty good.
4 of those 5 are pretty good. Who are you counting out? Steph?
Luka?
Yeah. They're averaging similar numbers.
I got to be consistent. He's not winning games.
He's not winning games neither. Steph is doing a decent job of winning games.
Steph's in like 5th, man.
They're in 8th. They're in 8th place.
They hover.
The person who was shafted,
Damian Lillard,
is Damian.
There's no question.
How can you tell me this guy is in MVP talks and give the nod?
That's the thing. He should be in more MVP talks.
He is. People are starting to kind of get louder on those MVP talks. But the Warriors are in 8th. The Mavs are in 10th, and the numbers that those 3 guys average are similar numbers. So for me, to not give Dame that starting spot, to give a Steph Curry that starting spot, who started in the All-Star game before, and he's had his time and he's had his success, and to give a guy Luka, I don't know if he started last year. I think he might have, but give it to Dame is more deserving of that starting spot. I think that was one of the most clear-cut shafts I've ever seen.
No question.
Because Dame
without CJ,
and they're 18 and 11, bro. Like he always carries his Trailblazers team
put it in
all
perspective,
the time.
18 and 11 would put him at 2nd in the East.
Yeah,
2nd in the East.
Yeah,
because Philly's 20 and 11, they're first. 18 and 11, so same amount of losses. Damian Lillard stays getting shafted.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry, but he deserves it, though. You all know he deserves it.
Yo, we didn't mention this, but he brought up he was actually pretty upset about the whole Chris Finch hiring.
Yes.
Because his boy, I guess there was an assistant coach on that bench that should have got hired, but he was pretty vocal. But yeah, he just speaks up for the people that are shafted because he is the number one shafted player. He definitely should have been an all-star starter. There's no question. I love Luka Doncic. But Dallas has been pretty bad all season.
It's no disrespect to Luka or Steph. All three of them are ballers. They all ball out. They're all exciting to watch. It's
interesting thing.
Deserving.
If you actually look at the voting structures, media and players had Damian Lillard as a starter, but the fan voting is what matters here. So the fans got Luka in, and I mean,
what do you do?
For several reasons they got him in. We're not going to get into that, but Luka Doncic is definitely a great player.
Yeah.
Just before we wrap it up, I want to just give a little shout out to Scary Terry, Terry Rozier, mainly because you and I both are pretty excited about these Charlotte Hornets. They got a good young core. They're exciting to watch. Terry's been snapping 36 points per game over the last 4 games.
Yes.
23 threes made in 4 games on 58% shooting. He's a firecracker right now. Anything he touches it's going crazy. Yeah. So he's killing it. I mean, MJ probably took all those comments personally, and his team overnight just became. All his draft picks are looking good.
Yeah, I'm gonna do one shout out too to the 905.
Yep.
The Raptors G League team has been looking great. Jalen Harris had a few games where he balled out. Malachi Flynn played a game in the morning and then got called up to the Raptors and played a game in the evening.
Yep.
He had a few good games in the G League, and then I've seen a lot of great highlights from Gary Payton the second, getting steals and just running the fast break and windmill dunks, and this kid he can jump out of the gym. It's crazy. So shout out to the 905 team. They're having a pretty good season
for sure.
And you love seeing the Raptors development on display.
100%.
Also, Team Canada qualified for the Olympics, I believe it was.
And shout out to O'Shea Brissett too. He had 28 points in his Euro game. So
yes, so a bunch of Canadians, blowing it up. Even Canadians in the NBA blowing it up. And that 905 team blowing it up in the G League as well. So
Jamal Murray averaging 36 over the last 4 games. Right after I traded him in fantasy, I traded him in fantasy for Kemba Walker. Kemba Walker 0 for 12 from freaking 3-pointer yesterday. Yeah, let's get it. So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to an end of episode number 10. Here's to another 4-0 week for the Raptors. We'll come at you next episode. You can find us on YouTube, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Wherever you find your podcasts, wherever you find your tweets and your Instagram pictures, you can find us. And we will come at you next episode.